And there's one more compound that I think we should discuss in terms of increasing fat loss, and that's carnitine or acetyl-L-carnitine. They lie in the same pathway. We can return to our basic knowledge now of fat mobilization and oxidation. After fat is mobilized and makes it into cells and needs to be oxidized, so literally the burning of fat and conversion of it into energy, that is accomplished and is facilitated by the presence of glucagon being elevated. GLP increases that process, and insulin being low. And we talked about some ways to manage insulin, both in this episode and in a previous episode. L-carnitine, and acetyl-L-carnitine in particular, facilitates fat oxidation. It helps convert fatty acids into ATP. And indeed, supplementing L-carnitine can increase fat loss. That's been shown. At what dosages? Well, people ingest anywhere from 500 milligrams to 2 grams per day in divided doses typically. Some people who are really extreme are taking injectable L-carnitine. I've certainly not tried that. I confess I have used it in pill form from time to time, but in part because of the fat oxidation effects, but also because of the other effects that it tends to have. So in exploring the effects that acetyl-L-carnitine has, it has a huge variety of effects on cellular metabolism. It can reduce ammonia in the blood. That is actually a quite strong effect. It can reduce things like C-reactive protein, which is, you want C-reactive protein levels to be managed. You do not want them too high. It can slightly reduce blood glucose. It can slightly increase HDLC, the good form of the blood lipid, and slightly reduce overall cholesterol. And as I mentioned, it can slightly modify the pathway involving glucagon such that you get a considerable effect, not a huge effect, on fat oxidation. So it can improve fat oxidation rates. It has a number of other effects, some of which I talked about during the month on hormones and that sort of thing. It has strong effects on rates of pregnancy and sperm quality. So clearly carnitine is doing lots of different things in lots of different cells. It's impacting sperm motility. There are a large number of studies supporting that. Slight reductions in blood pressure, and has these interesting effects on reducing fatigue during exercise, reducing inflammatory markers like interleukin-6. So it has a number of effects that on the whole are quote unquote positive, or at least in the direction of things that you may want. And I should emphasize may. You certainly don't need acetyl-L-carnitine in order to lose fat, but now that you understand the cellular process by which fat is mobilized and oxidized, it should make sense that if L-carnitine is important for converting fatty acids into energy, then supplementing L-carnitine makes sense. Acetyl-L-carnitine is the type of L-carnitine, or the form of L-carnitine, I should say, that is transported and utilized most easily by the body. And so that's why sometimes we distinguish between L-carnitine and acetyl-L-carnitine.